All right, still waiting for Jen Psaki to come out. Let's go to our chief Washington correspondent, Andrea Mitchell. Andrea, it's probably fair to point out that even in the best of times, it's an adversarial relationship often between the press and presidencies.
Absolutely, and a healthy one at that. But they come in with a lot of goodwill. They have to prove that they're open. She has to prove that they're going to take questions, be accessible. She has that track record. She has a great reputation. She was the chief spokesperson at the State Department. I traveled with her all over the world. She then went to the White House in the Obama administration as well. So she had been the spokesperson in the State Department for Secretary Kerry, and she did a very good job with the press, has always had great relations. By the way, a little bit of news is we're expecting a vote, if it's not even in play right now. All of the objections to the CIA, the head of, there she is, Jen Psaki, but they are going to confirm the Director of National Intelligence tonight.
Andrea, thank you. Here's Jen Psaki, White House Press Secretary.
Thank you for joining us on this historic day. It's an honor to be here with all of you. When the President asked me to serve in this role, we talked about the importance of bringing truth and transparency back to the briefing room. And he asked me to ensure we're communicating about the policies across the Biden-Harris administration and the work his team is doing every single day on behalf of all American people. There will be times when we see things differently in this room, I mean, among all of us. That's okay. That's part of our democracy. And rebuilding trust with the American people will be central to our focus in the press office and in the White House every single day. So we had a very busy and active day today, as you all know, but I wanted to take a moment to go through the 15 executive actions, or highlights of them, I should say, and some of the
There's a 90-minute primetime a 90-minute primetime inauguration special.
Executive orders, as well as the accompanying fact sheets. But I want to take this moment
with, like,
to highlight
Tom
them
Hanks
for
and
the
shit.
American public who are watching at home. To combat the deadly virus, the President launched his 100-day masking challenge, asking Americans to do their part and mask up for 100 days. He's doing his part as well, issuing a mask mandate that will require anyone visiting a federal building or federal land or using certain modes of public transportation to wear a mask. He signed an executive order reversing Trump's decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization. This will strengthen our own efforts to get the pandemic under control by improving global health. And tomorrow, we're not wasting any time, Dr. Fauci will participate remotely in the meeting of the World Health Organization as the U.S. head of delegation. President Biden also officially appointed a COVID-19 response coordinator, a position and team we had already previously announced, but made it official today, to create a unified national response to the pandemic. And he reestablished the national security team responsible for global health, security, and biodefense.
Feels wrong.
The COVID-19 pandemic has triggered an almost unprecedented housing affordability crisis. He took immediate action to confront the crisis and asked relevant agencies to extend nationwide moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures.
And you're to be like yelling about inauguration crowd sizes matching Donald Trump's despite COVID or something.
In response, the President asked the Department of Education to extend the pause on student loan payments and interest. He rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, putting the United States back in a position to exercise global leadership in advancing the objectives of the ambitious agreement. Sorry, hope you're comfortable. There's a few more.
I prefer my White House press secretaries to literally tweet about how I am an America-hating 9/11 loving terrorist who got to play video games with congresspersons.
The boundaries for several national
That's the kind of White House press secretary I personally prefer. So seeing one that doesn't do that or hasn't done that yet weirds me out a little bit.
The interagency working group on the social cost of greenhouse gases.
That happened, by the way. For those of you who don't know, Kayleigh McEnany literally did do that.
And root out systemic racism from federal programs and institutions. He directed the Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the Attorney General, to take all appropriate actions to preserve and fortify DACA, which provides temporary relief from deportation to Dreamers, young people who were brought to this country as children. The President also put an end to the Muslim ban, a policy rooted in religious animus and xenophobia. He signed a proclamation effective immediately, halting further funding or construction of the previous administration's border wall, and terminating the so-called national emergency used to wastefully divert billions for wall construction. Also today, President Biden sent an immigration bill to Congress. The U.S. Citizenship Act modernizes our immigration system. It provides hardworking people who've enriched our communities and lived here for decades an opportunity to earn citizenship. The president's priority reflected in the bill are to responsibly manage the border, keep families together, grow our economy, address the root causes of migration from Central America, and ensure that America can remain a refuge for those fleeing prosecution. With that, I'd love to take your questions. Zeke, why don't you kick us off?
Thanks, Jen. First off, congratulations. And one question about your role. You touched on this a little bit at the top, but when you were up there, do you see yourself, your primary role is promoting the interests of the president, or are you there to provide us the unvarnished truth so that we can share that with the American people?
Well, let me first say, Zeke, that I come to this podium having served both in the White House and at the State Department as the spokesperson there. And I traveled the world on trips to promote democracy, where I saw the power of the United States and, of course, the power of this podium and the power of truth and the importance of setting an example of engagement and transparency. So I will just state, because you gave me the opportunity, I have deep respect for the role of a free and independent press in our democracy and for the role all of you play. As I noted earlier, there will be moments when we disagree, and there will certainly be days where we disagree for extensive parts of the briefing, even perhaps. But we have a common goal, which is sharing accurate information with the American people. If the president were standing here with me today, he would say he works for the American people. I work for him, so I also work for the American people. But his objective and his commitment is to bring transparency and truth back to government, to share the truth even when it's hard to hear. And that's something that I hope to deliver on in this role as well.
And then just one substantive one, so we're short on time. When will President Biden begin making some foreign leader calls? Who's on that initial list? And during the transition, he didn't speak with President Putin. Does he plan on doing that? And is he going to discuss retaliation for the solar winds hack on the federal government?
Sure. Let me try to get to those. And I'll just note, since Zeke mentioned it, I know some of you have to get to another event this evening because we're not fully done with the day. So we will have longer briefings in the future, but we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. So his first call, foreign leader call, will be on Friday with Prime Minister Trudeau. I expect they will certainly discuss the important relationship with Canada, as well as his decision on the Keystone Pipeline that we announced today. I don't have any plans or any plans to read out for you in terms of a call with President Putin. I will note for you that I would expect his early calls will be with partners and allies. He feels it's important to rebuild those relationships and to address the challenges and threats we're facing in the world. On solar winds, we've spoken about this previously a bit prior to his inauguration, I should say, today. We are, of course, we reserve the right to respond at a time and a manner of our choosing to any cyber attack. But our team is, of course, just getting on the ground today. They're just getting onto their computers, so I don't have anything to read out for you or to preview for you at this point in time. Peter, go ahead.
Jen, I have a question for you on policy. First, a quick housekeeping question. A short time ago, President Biden said that he received a very generous letter from President Trump. Of course, he said it was private. He said, I will not talk about it until I talk to him. Is President Biden planning to call now former President Trump? And is this White House working in any way to try to put the two in touch?
Well, I think, Peter, that was a reflection of President Biden's view, and I was with him when he was reading the letter in the Oval Office right before he signed the executive actions, was that this is a letter that was private, as he said to you all. It was both generous and gracious, and it was just a reflection of him not planning to release the letter unilaterally, but I wouldn't take it as an indication of a pending call with the former president.
Let me ask you on policy, if I can, quickly. You talk, obviously, your role is sort of in terms of delivering the best information to the American people on behalf of this White House. The battle for truth may be as tough a fight right now as is the battle against coronavirus. How do you and President Biden plan to combat disinformation that in many ways led to that assault we witnessed 2 weeks ago today on the Capitol?
Well, I think, Peter, there are a number of ways to combat misinformation. One of them is accurate information and truth and data and sharing information even when it is hard to hear and even when it is not meeting the expectations of people at home who are desperate for this crisis to be over. We'll have more to share with you in the next few days, hopefully before the weekend. But what we plan to do is not just return these daily briefings Monday through Friday, not Saturdays and Sundays. I'm not a monster, but also to return briefings with our health officials and public health officials. We want to do those regularly in a dependable way with data shared with all of you and with the public, so that they can also track progress we're making on getting the pandemic under control.
As it relates to the cabinet, if I can quickly, we know President Biden's beginning without a single member of his cabinet confirmed. What is your understanding on how quickly those confirmations will happen, and when should we expect additional nominations and ambassadorships to be announced?
Well, Peter, the desire to get his cabinet in place and get his team confirmed is front and center for the president. It is an issue, a topic he discussed with members of Congress from both the Republican and Democratic Party today during the course of the day and the course of events. I think as we were coming out here, Avril Haines should be on her way to confirmation. I don't know if it's officially happened yet, but she's on her way. We have prioritized getting our national security team in
I'm going to
place,
join the discourse blog right now, so I apologize. You might have to do the.
At this time,
you might have to reset
but we are
Gamba.
eager for those to move forward quickly in the coming days.
Unless you guys
Ideally
already
tomorrow,
got the
by
outcome
Friday,
of the Gamba.
We'd like to move them quickly. It's something that he is raising in his conversations, as we all are with members of Congress and their teams.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen.
Jen, has President Biden invited congressional leaders to sit down and talk about the COVID relief measure that he introduced?
Well, he has been discussing the COVID relief measures, the entire package that has, as you know, unemployment insurance. It has relief and assistance for the American people. It also has money to reopen schools, which I know as a mother impacts all of us. But he has been discussing that with Democrats and Republicans since long before he was sworn in today. Today was a day where he had conversations about working together in terms of getting his team in place, on his agenda moving forward. But I expect he will be picking up the phone in the coming days and having more of those conversations. In terms of when he will meet in person, I will say soon, and we hope to have more of an update on that for you soon as well.
Do you expect him to play in those negotiations? There was a lot of comments today about his familiarity with the Senate. How involved will he be in that process?
He will be quite involved. There is the issue that he wakes up every day focused on is getting the pandemic under control. The issue he goes to bed every night focused on is getting the pandemic under control. This package is a pivotal step to doing that. And it has assistance for the American people to make that bridge financially. It also has essential funding for vaccine distribution. He will be very involved. He will not be the only one. We have a whole team here of senior staff, of course, but as you noted, he is not a stranger to the Senate. He served there for 36 years. Many of these people,
Okay, I think I am being connected to their. Hold on.
Questions in the chat, or